The 1980s were golden years for the automotive world. New technologies, new styles, and not to mention some legendary cars such as the Testarossa, the BMW M3 and the Audi Quattro. Some of these cars brought new tech, and a lot of them just changed the automotive world. I mean, for instance, the Audi Quattro changed the world of rallying to four-wheel drive. However, a lot of these 1980s cars are now classics and have skyrocketed in value. However, today there are a few cars which you can get for a fraction of the price, £15,000 to be exact. So without further ado, let's get into them. Audi Coupe GT. The Audi Coupe GT is basically a Quattro that's two-wheel drive and has no turbo, but still, it's a really cool daily driver. This thing still has a 5-cylinder engine which sounds ungodly, and this thing also looks just cool. It's got those 80s lines which are just super recognisable, and everyone will turn and look at you when you drive past in this car. Pristine examples can be found for less than £15,000. Golf GTI Mark I. The Golf GTI pretty much kick-started the hot hatch revolution. This small, fun, practical, sporty hatch was, well, no other word, a legend. This car is genuinely amazing, and the fact that you can still find them for £15,000 amazes me. This car is an appreciating asset, and if you pick one of these up, you could probably double your money within a few years. So my suggestion is, go buy one now while they're still cheap. Mazda RX7. The RX7 was Mazda's flagship sports car back in the 80s. This unusual coupe looked super cool, but wasn't very reliable thanks to its rotary engine. However, if you're very keen on working on cars, this might just be the one for you. This thing is very cool, and when it does work, it handles beautifully. It's also very fun on the B roads, and it's surprisingly quick for a 1.1. And the fact that you can find these for under £15,000 is genuinely astonishing. Toyota Supra A70. The Mark III Supra sort of really lived in the shadow of its younger brother, but still, this car is extremely cool. It's rear-wheel drive, it's hatchback, and has pop-up headlights. This car comes in two flavours, naturally aspirated or turbocharged. However, the problem I found with these cars is that manuals are very, very rare. However, don't let that put you off, because you'll have a very cool car that you can sort of cruise around in, and there's plenty of space for you and your friends. However, I found the deal of the century, a manual turbo for £15,000. Ford Fiesta XR2. This generation of Ford Fiesta is pretty underrated, it's not very well mentioned. However, this is the XR2, a legendary hot hatch, which did live in the shadow of the Golf GTI and Renault 5 Turbo. But still, this thing is analog, it's cool, and it's so much fun. It's a little go-kart that weighs less than a tonne and has less than 100 horsepower, so you can really pin it and not break the law. However, do not quote me on that if you get caught speeding. This is a fast Ford, so it's the perfect investment, and you're definitely going to make a profit after a few years. Just look after this car and just, for crying out loud, just don't crash it. Now, good examples can be found for £11,000. Citroen CX GTI Turbo. The Citroen CX was France's sort of big flagship luxury car. This thing was very, very popular. In fact, it sold over 1 million units in its lifetime. This thing was well known for its beautiful ride quality. In fact, it was one of the best in the world thanks to its hydropneumatic suspension, and this GTI Turbo could push 170 horsepower, which could get this car to 140 miles an hour. That was so fast that the French police needed Alpine A310s to keep up with this thing. This car is super cool and it's very spacious. It's a great car for road trips. And kudos if you find an estate version. Good examples can be found for less than £10,000. Mitsubishi Starion. The Mitsubishi Starion was underrated, to say the least. Named because of an unclear phone call, this sports car really didn't live up to the hype. It wasn't actually as well received as any of the other cars back in the day, so a lot of people just completely forgot about this thing. However, this thing is a great car. It's a great cruising car, it's rear-wheel drive, it's got a big turbo, and it's definitely a Japanese muscle car. I mean, look at it. This thing looks like it lives at the gym. It's got pop-up headlights too, and this thing would make an ideal track racer, rally car, perhaps even a drift car. And amazingly, you can still find these for less than £15,000. Peugeot 205 GTI. Now, out of all the hatchbacks of the 1980s, this one is the best. In fact, my grandpa, who used to build XR2s, says that this was way better. This comes in two flavours, 1.6 or 1.9. Which one you choose doesn't matter. The 1.9 is a bit more rowdy and encourages you to drive like a bit of a maniac, according to my dad. However, the 1.6 is a better daily as it's a bit calmer, a bit more manageable, but still, it's a pretty fun car. I love these 205s, they're awesome. Now, the only problem is, they're not very well built. In fact, they suffer from rust and they're not that reliable, but when they do work, they're so good. Check out this white 1.9 for less than £14,000. Renault Alpine GTA. This is my attainable dream car. I love this thing. It's just like a sort of French 911, and it's got a turbocharged V6 engine which sounds insane. It's quirky, it's cool, and the best of all, it's cheap. This thing is just so much fun, and I just love this car so much. It's just an 80s car that you just really want to drive. It's really cool, and I want one. And prices start at less than 10k? Sign me up! Saab 900 Turbo. The 900 Turbo was a safe sports car. This car was built by a company that specialises in safety. In fact, it was designed to prevent an adult moose coming through the windscreen. However, this thing is a great driver's car. Its turbocharged engine will just immediately sweep you off your feet. And this thing is just really cool. I mean, it's a bit like the Citroen CX and with its turbocharged engine and futuristic looks. However, it's a lot smaller and probably handles better. It's actually a pretty good alternative to the Audi Quattro as well, and it's actually the cheapest car on the list. In fact, normal 900s can be found for less than £5,000. However, if you want a full pressure turbo, if you want a more sort of iconic version like the flat nose turbo, then £15,000 is where you want to look. In fact, they can be found for even less than that. Yeah, that is my list of 1980s sports cars. Have you got any of these? Do you know anyone who has any of these? Do you have any suggestions? Because I've got to do a part 2 of this. Thank you very much for watching, and please watch my previous video, and goodbye.